It is interesting to see that even for a film this old, people have really strong opinions about how it's to be interpreted. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that's good still. There's a conversation there.
Well, and it's particularly, it's the video where we pose the question about what's happening when he spins the Earth back or goes back in time, depending on how you look at it.
He is moving so fast, he's going back in time. And visually, the way they're showing that is the world spinning backwards. He's not making the world spin backwards.
People are going crazy over that. And I just love to see how passionate people are about this nerdy detail.
But I do like people who are literally taking the time to comment, and it'll be one sentence going like, nerds.
Yeah.
Or like, you guys need to grow up, or
guys, it's just a movie.
Yeah, guys, it's just a movie.
Or somebody says, why don't you just enjoy the movie and not think about it? I'm like, something like that. And I said, buddy, that's not how nerdery works.
Yeah.
But most people are very, very enthusiastic. Either it's like, oh, that's what I always thought. I'm so glad to hear somebody else confirm it. Or it's people saying, I never thought of it that way, but that makes so much sense. And
yeah.
But then there's also people who are saying, you guys are wrong.
I like the way that that's the default voice we have for dissenters.
Yeah, right.
You obviously never read a physics book.
And again, just for context, people were referring to a video. It's a clip from episode number 49, because we go through the movie in sequential order, the scenes. We get to the point where Superman is grieving the loss of Lois and decides to go against his father Jor-El's commandment, don't interfere with human history. And
he interferes the hell out of it.
Yeah, he uses his powers to go back in time just a few minutes, apparently,
to
save Lois's life or to prevent her death, basically. And people get really persnickety about what this scene means or what is actually being shown.
Right.
There are literally hundreds of comments on this video now. It's like, but there seems to be, I want to address this first. There seems to be a contingent of people who are insistent on taking this just completely visually, literally what we're being shown. And let's make it clear from the outset. Yes, they are using the rotation of the Earth, either going forwards or backwards, to illustrate
going through time.
That's the device. That's the visual device they're showing. And yeah, you could take it literally, saying, okay, he's using a super speed to reverse the rotation of the Earth, and then he's putting it back in the other direction. Visually, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But I do not think there's any reason to interpret that so literally that you're saying that it was the filmmaker's intention for us to believe that that's what happens when you reverse the rotation of the Earth.
No.
Why would you do that to yourself? Because okay, let me get this out of the way for you. I've been thinking about this for days now.
Ooh, he's hot. He's coming in hot, everybody.
If we're going down the literal road, let's take a look at a couple other scenes from this movie. Like, for example, when Superman jumps out the window to go find Luthor when he gets the ultrasonic message.
Right.
We then see his suit basically materialize on him.
Yes.
Because that's literally what we're showing. Are we supposed to think that that's one of his powers, that he can just summon his suit onto him?
Can I just say on behalf of you and what you just said, your illustration, ooh, snap.
And there's another one too. We talked. I'm sorry. I'll let you talk here a second.
No, I'm standing back.
One more example, which we also talked about in that episode. We call it the training sequence. And when he gets to the fortress and he meets Jor-El's, his virtual father for the first time, and then they go off in this trippy. This is the way for them to fill the 12 years he spent in the fortress. Right. They illustrate this by making it look as if he's traveling through space and time with his father's voice, which is definitely a callback to his journey from Krypton to Earth. Are we literally supposed to think that he left the Earth for 12 years and traveled through space and time and then came back? Maybe.
I'm going to say no.
But I mean, guys, this film was made in a time when 2001 Space Odyssey, Kubrick's classic, was still at that point the most influential science fiction film. People were reeling from it still. This was less than 10 years after it came out when they're making this movie. And you can see the influence of Kubrick all over this film, especially in that sequence I just mentioned, the opening credits, the journey from Krypton to Earth.
I think most of Krypton is even the stark whiteness of it. That's completely Kubrick.
Yeah. So, and of course, 2001 ends with this really trippy sequence, which I think they echo in this film several times. The ending of 2001 is completely visual. There is no dialogue. There is no exposition whatsoever. You are just left to figure that out for yourself.
Yes.
So there are several moments like that in this film. there's almost this art house quality to the film that Donner and Mankiewicz put together here. And you are left to infer and figure out what just happened. They're not going to explain it because that would have made it too on the nose or something, just wouldn't have been the same, wouldn't have had the same magic. So if you get trapped down this literal hole, like, well, that's literally what we're seeing. And a lot of people are saying, let's ruin the movie for me. And like, I feel really genuinely feel bad for you if that's the effect it had. And some people are saying too, like, well, if it requires this much explanation, then the filmmakers failed and stuff.
Sure.
You could make the same argument about 2001: A Space Odyssey too.
Very much so.
And we got to give the filmmakers more credit than that. So
what I will say, this explanation, which I believe the one that we said in the video, which I've felt since the age of 8 or whatever, to me, it makes perfect sense. I would never claim, like some of those people there, they're going, okay, but that's not how time travel works. Like, that's ignoring Einstein. All right, here's the thing. You're right. And the people who always felt okay with the idea that him turning the Earth backwards made time go backwards, and they love the movie on that level, continue to love the movie on that level.
Yeah.
Let that be your explanation. And we're certainly not putting this on the same level as 2001, which is a very cerebral science fiction film. It's almost spiritual science fiction film.
Yes.
And this is a comic book adaptation. We're completely aware of that too. As serious as we get about Superman the movie, or anything we talk about here, being nerds, we also, or at least I think Chad and I, as nerds, can also step back, and very often we're just going like, wow, we really got intense about the makeup of adamantium or whatever the we know that we're talking about jibber jabber. Enjoy it on your terms, just like we enjoy it on our terms, and we're all fine. If you think the movie you're wrong. Yeah. And you can leave. But again, you're entitled. Also, the people who are just seeming to show up to basically tell us we're wrong, Chad and I don't agree on everything either.
No.
So your opinions matter, and we're happy about them. But at the same time, we'll also, like nerds do, defend our viewpoint.
Yeah. This comment just came in like an hour or two ago. Troy says, I just never looked at it that damn literal. I always interpreted it as basically being a metaphor, just a way to visually show his power and just how simply that great and immense it is. His power and his grief were simply so great that he untapped something magical and beyond our comprehension, allowing him to undo Lois's death. That's basically it.
That's a beautiful way of saying it.
Basically it. And I mean, that's the point.
We got very much in the mechanics of it, which just because it's like, hey, let's explain this if people have never thought of it that way. Again, very well said. I think because what you're doing is you're getting to the absolute core. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. If the people who think he's turning the Earth back, it's the reason he's doing it. And it's the emotional point of that entire scene, which is he is willing to do everything selflessly, but he's doing this one selfish, rebellious act for himself because he can't deal with the grief. It's very emotional. It's him changing the course of human history, and for such a personal reason. So yes, it really isn't. It doesn't matter at the end of the day whether he shows up and there's another him for a brief second. The paradox thing we were talking about too. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It matters that he did this because he found the love of his life dead. So that's the important thing, story-wise. And again, that's probably one of the reasons why they're like going, let's not explain it. Well, Lois, what I did was I went back in time because I found you dead. That's right. You should be dead right now. Yeah, right. It's good that they didn't do that. It's better that we just feel the moment instead of having it spoon-fed to us.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go.
And that's the thing I kept bringing up in comments is like the thing that sells it for me. Because I remember as a kid, like before I had a copy of the movie that I could watch at my will, thinking about that scene, it was like, yeah, I mean, somebody else brought up the point too. Like, why, this presents problems because Superman is that overpowered. What's to say he just can't keep doing this? And of course, at the end of the Donner cut, he does do it again. But you just kind of have to, the emotion of the scene, and that's the other video I just put out from that same episode just yesterday, about the emotion behind this, but behind what he does. And that's what sells it for me, really.
That's what sells it.
The visuals are gorgeous, but what he's going through, that's what I'm into. That's why I'm there for that scene.
Yeah, exactly. And that is handled beautifully. Again, it's just the point of it. Also, I would say if you don't count the Donner cut, which again is like an experimental alternate universe thing,
Yeah.
what you can say is that that is the lesson he learned. He doesn't do it again for the rest of the film series, and we can assume never again.
Yeah.
Even he realized, oh crap, I can do that, but I shouldn't. He did it the
Right.
one time and it was for Lois. It's like, I can't be a god for these people.
One more thing, and then we'll move on from this. I think we've covered
Oh
it pretty
yeah,
well.
we've ground this into the earth.
There were several people who came in with their extensive theories to explain what we're seeing, which I really appreciate this degree of nerdity. I very much do. Because here's the thing. The thing that the literalists are saying, I'm calling you guys, they're just saying, take the scene literally. It's exactly what's happening. He's reversing the Earth's rotation.
Yeah.
And the thing they keep pointing out, he goes, the spin it backwards. And then he goes out, like you're saying that was your course correction moment you mentioned, where he goes, and he comes back and then he spins it in the other direction. They say when he does that, when he goes out, to get a running start at going the other way, the Earth is still rotating in reverse when he does that. So it's like, oh, see, if he was actually going back in time when he was spinning backwards, then when he goes out, when he stops spinning around the Earth, and the Earth should just automatically go back into its normal rotation because he's now stopped traveling back in time. Well, if you want to interpret that way, but you don't have to. And Remo says, this is one really great way to look at it, I think. Once Superman achieves traveling backward in time, even flying, he has temporal momentum, still going back in time. That's why we still see the Earth going backward.
Yes.
He must now do the reverse to go forward again. And he also needs to watch what is happening to know what spot to go back and to change whatever he's changing.
Yeah, that's good.
I read that. I said, bam, chef's kiss. I just thought that's great.
Exactly. And I mean, that is what I was talking about with like the course correction of like overshot it. I have to find the exact moment. But yeah, again, I will defend to the death the people who are going to sit there and just tell us that we're wrong.
Yeah.
It's I think it is about what matters in that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it when I loved all the comments where people were, it's almost like people discovering a little group where they're like going, I thought I was the only one who thought this way.
It's a lot of people saying that. Yeah.
And it's like, I've had the same argument. It's because Chad and I are, what you're listening to is us having these discussions that we would have had at House of Pies at 2:00 in the morning after a show or something. So this is kind of what it is. It's like, yeah, a lot of you out there, probably like me, would end up at some party and just talking about the scene and going, no, don't you get it?
Yeah.
So that's all we're doing here is the no, don't you get it? So you're welcome. Bottom line is, don't hang out with anyone that doesn't like Superman 78.
Yeah.
I think that's our message for the people. Are there any comments in there that say, man, Brendan's lost some weight, he's looking good? Anything like that? No,
maybe I didn't look far enough, but
yeah. It's between the lines, Chad. It's between the lines.